Is New World any good? Was the question I was asking myself a month ago, waiting for Eternum's launch. Welcome back, everyone. It's Vane. So, after a month of not uploading, playing far too much New World, I'm back. Let's talk. The answer to the question, is New World any good, is yes. If you've never played this game before and are looking for one of the most PvX centric MMOs with some of the most interesting combat in the MMO scene, this game is for you, no doubt, no question. But I mean, come on. There's always a stipulation these days. I obviously have some gripes with it. Like practically every other veteran of this game, we are all passionate about New World and we want to see improvement from the dev team. Let's talk about probably the worst part about every single MMO, in my personal opinion: leveling. I mean, come on. Nobody likes leveling, right? Compared to what it used to be before the re-release, leveling is now a breeze. They've really put a lot of work into making sure players stay engaged in the story as it goes on, with updated MSQ, cutscenes, and plenty of side quests for the player to partake in. The New World dev team has really done a great job. What used to be a 20 plus hour grind for max can be done as short as 12 hours. And all in all, I'm impressed. While this isn't the first time I've leveled a character, nor will it be the last, knowing that the grind doesn't feel dreadful like it used to really brings me peace of mind for when I'm interested in playing on other servers in the future. Now, a common topic that people were bringing up last year with the release of Elysian Wilds, which of course just came out with the Eternum release, was that the grind to max gear feels too short. And all in all, I couldn't agree more. Prior to the Elysian Wilds expansion, most gear that you would find would be bind on equip, which means that you could sell it. Back then, most of your gear was either dropped from a mutated dungeon or crafted, and things are no longer that way. With the gear score increase from 700 to 725, and being unable to craft 725 gear with relative ease, this makes every single piece of equipment you will use going forward, at least for PvE, most likely be named items from PvE content. Now, besides the effect that this has on the overall economy of the game, with most people claiming that crafting is now dead, there's several upsides to this change that I would like to mention. First off, gearing. If you're someone like me who tends to play on multiple characters to do more and more content, these changes make things easy for you. If you do your research ahead of time for this process, obtaining your best in slot items tend to be pretty easy. Build crafting has never been this simple. With so many named items having Magnify as their attribute stat, being able to take pieces you already have and using them towards other builds are incredibly useful for the long term. And no offense to the console players listening when I say this, but this makes build crafting, especially for our more newbie player base, incredibly easy to understand. All of this culminating to allow players the ability to try every build in this game with ease. Long gone are the days of not being able to play a build because your gear is too bad or you simply can't afford it, which is a plus in my book. Honestly, this promotes spending your time doing what you want, having fun. Well, to be honest, this has taken a lot of the grind out of New World. I've continued to spend more and more time with my friends, having fun, instead of stressing out over the fact that I don't have certain pieces of gear. Instead of trying to find a healer for certain content, I could just play healer, and half the gear I'm using was for my DPS set anyways. Things that save time like this are really beneficial to the players who only have a couple hours here and there to play the game. And I could see why New World would do that. Especially with the console release, I do have my gripes with some of this system because I feel like it's cut a lot of content, but I've also began to adopt a mindset that has really changed the way I look at things. When it comes to these sandbox MMOs, it's really up to the player to create their own content. Yes, while there are plenty of things you could do every single day, it's really up to you, the player, to have fun. I've recently felt so burnt out of how linear games have felt nowadays, and just being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, has really made me have a new appreciation for this game. Okay, but seriously, what do I dislike about New World in its current state? No, none of these things are really deal breakers for me, just things that I find rather annoying or they should be changed. Artifacts, which in my eyes are supposed to be the pinnacle of New World items, are laughably easy to obtain. I'm really happy that the Elemental Band and certain artifacts from the Hive of Gorgon raid have a quest requirement for you to kill the Sandworm, which actually makes these coveted items have a challenge behind them to fully utilize. But some of these artifacts are just way too easy, and the quests behind them feel like nothing more than fetch quests. The fact that artifacts from mutated dungeons can drop from the lowest level gives new players no reason to try and ascend the mutation ranks and maybe end up trying for leaderboards. And I personally feel like the drop rate is too high on some of these items. If I did my calculations correctly, on average, you'll never have to kill a boss more than 5 times to obtain some of these items. Nothing about artifacts really feels rare anymore, and it probably didn't even in the first place. In fact, the named items from the Sandworm are actually probably the hardest items to get right now when it comes to coveted items. Those items you can't even loot bias from the crates. So if you want, let's say the light chest, it's a 1 in 33 from the weekly crate, which is insane if you really think about it, considering you can definitely pull the same item back to back and you are unable to craft the armor pieces with materia. AGS, please fix. On the opposite side of the spectrum, something that I wish was a little bit easier to access is War, or at least something close to it, and definitely not OPR. Right now, it seems like every server has one super dominant company that is most likely holding Windsword and Everfall, racking up money with really no competition. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I mean, if your company has the best players in the server on it, then yeah, you deserve the territories. But right now, it's really hard for new players to enter the scene and be able to compete in some of these wars without getting farmed at the war camp. I don't think that anything from War itself needs to be changed, as all of the retuning it's seen over the years has really put it in a good state. But overall, right now, it doesn't feel like there's any relevant game modes to really allow new PvPers to experience this kind of content. Now listen, I don't really ever think that AGS is going to give the players anything similar to what the hardcore PvPers want, which would be scrims. If we could set up 50v50s on the regular, people would have plenty of chances to learning how to be better at their role in a war environment. But what you can either have is A, some retuning to OPR, maybe make the map smaller and giving people the incentive to stand on the point instead of stat padding in the backline with the Boltcaster, or B, give us another game mode. Now listen, AGS, we have all been playing on the same OPR map for so long now, but something that I definitely think would be possible is 5CP, a linear approach to the game mode. Now, I'm not a dev, and I'm also not an expert at video editing or Photoshop, so bear with me here. 2 forts, 3 checkpoints separating the two. The outside 3 points should not have forts over them, just open checkpoints, minimal cover. The game mode should ideally be 30v30. Less cover encourages playing heavier builds that allow players to stand on and near the point. Do I think this is going to change steamrolling matches where the enemy team finishes in 5 minutes with a crushing defeat? I don't know. Honestly, a 5-second OPR right now is enough to win the entire game, and I don't know if it would change that either. With the freedoms players are given regarding builds, we would just have to see if it would play out correctly. Maybe a test server? I don't know. Okay, one last thing. PvP track sucks. Holy smokes, this thing is bad. Luckily, I don't play Greatsword, but my friend Aku over here is track 170 right now and still hasn't pulled Serenity. I'm at track 41 and I haven't even seen an artifact yet. And you would think that my previous statements regarding how easy it is to obtain artifacts from the open world would hold true here, but no. This is the polar opposite to that, and in my opinion, the PvP track drop rate probably needs to be retuned. If AGS doesn't want to do that, maybe think about adding PvP artifacts to the doubloon pool and CK. And I don't think that would be a perfect fix, but I don't think it'd be the worst either. But if they did do that, it would encourage players to fight in the PvP zone, which I would not be upset about at all. And with that, that's it. That's all I've got for you guys today. I hope everyone has a happy holidays, especially with Thanksgiving coming up soon, and I hope everyone enjoys their hearty meals and Alka-Heist. Don't forget to like, maybe even sub. My name is Vane, and I'll see you guys the next time.